Welcome, my dear guests, to the captivating expanses of my story. Chapter 6, 2204. Emma Hart stood on the bridge of the EK Asimov, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays. The Cuuturn system spread out before them, an unknown expanse of possibilities. The orange dwarf star pulsed gently in the center, surrounded by 6 planets tracing their lonely orbits. "Scan the third planet," Emma ordered. Her voice sounded calm, but a storm of anticipation was boiling inside her. She clutched the armrest of her command chair, her knuckles white with tension. Asimov's susceptible instruments scanned the surface, tracing every crater and elevation. Suddenly, the displays flickered wildly, causing data chaos and warning messages. "Commander, we've discovered something," shouted Lieutenant Zhang from the science station. His voice was overflowing with excitement. "An unusual energy signature on the surface. It's pulsing in a rhythm I've never seen before." Emma jumped up and hurried over to him. Her footsteps echoed on the metal floor, a staccato barrage of anticipation. "Show me, Lieutenant. Every detail." A 3-dimensional planet map appeared on the high-resolution screen, so detailed that Emma could make out every mountain range and every dried-up riverbed. A pulsating red dot marked the anomaly like a beating heart in the desert landscape. "It appears to be artificial in origin," Zhang explained, his fingers flying over the controls. "But the energy levels are beyond anything we've seen before. It's like looking into the sun, only much more concentrated." Emma frowned, her eyes narrowing to slits. "Can we investigate it further? Maybe send an away team?" Zhang shook his head regretfully. "Negative, Commander. Our sensors are not powerful enough for a detailed analysis, and the radiation would be lethal to an away team. We need more specialized equipment for this kind of phenomenon." Emma thoughtfully tapped the armrest of her command chair. This discovery could change everything, and she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "Mark the position for later exploration," she decided. "The EK Ibn Battuta is better equipped for such investigations." "Understood, Commander," Zhang confirmed. Emma turned to the communications officer. "Establish a connection to Kasach. Top priority." Moments later, the hologram of Imperatrix Sevia Heimber appeared on the bridge. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What news do you bring, Commander Hart?" Emma reported her discovery, choosing her words carefully. "We found an anomaly of unknown origin on Cuuturn 3. The energy readings are remarkable." Sevia leaned back in her throne, her face a mask of concentrated thought. "Fascinating. What steps do you suggest?" "I recommend sending the EK Ibn Battuta for a thorough investigation," Emma replied. "Their advanced sensors are better suited to the task." The Imperatrix nodded slowly. "A wise decision. I will inform Commander Uba." Emma felt a surge of relief. The responsibility had been shared, but the excitement remained. What could the secrets of Cuuturn 3 be? "Continue your exploration, Commander Hart," Sevia ordered. "May the universe continue to reveal its wonders to you." The hologram faded out. Emma looked out of the bridge's panorama window. The stars shone brighter like they wanted to whisper more secrets to her. "Set course for the next sector," Emma ordered. Her voice was firm, filled with a renewed thirst for action. Who knows what we'll discover next? Paulina Romero stood motionless in front of the holographic display in her office. Her eyes fixed on the flashing dots that marked the position of the EK Asimov in the Cuuturn system. The gentle hum of the equipment was interrupted only by the occasional beep of incoming messages. "Computer, display EK Asimov's report," she ordered in a firm voice. Her fingers drummed impatiently on the armrest of her chair. The words danced before her eyes, each sentence a potential threat. Unusual energy signature. Unknown origin. Possibly artificial. Paulina read the report twice, 3 times, searching for hidden clues between the lines. Paulina clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. Her mind raced, running through one scenario after another. What if this anomaly was a weapon? A relic of a long-gone but technologically superior civilization? Or worse still, a trap waiting to be triggered? "Damn," she muttered, running a hand through her short gray hair. A frustrated snort escaped her. The scientists were jubilant about their discovery, reveling in euphoria. But Paulina only saw the risks, the lurking dangers behind the unknown. With a jerky movement, she activated her communication unit. "Captain Yuri, what's the status of the Pegasus flotilla?" She barked into the microphone, her voice echoing sharply through the room. "All ships ready for action, Admiral," came the prompt reply. Yuri's voice sounded calm and professional. "Maintenance work completed, weapon systems at maximum power." "Good." Paulina nodded grimly. "Stand by. Full alert. I want us to be able to move out immediately at the slightest anomaly." Paulina turned back to the hologram. The EK Asimov was a tiny dot compared to the immensity of space, so vulnerable. She sighed deeply. She felt a heavy responsibility, as every decision could decide the fate of the Empire. "Computer, show me the defensive capabilities of the EK Asimov." The data appeared before her, sobering in its simplicity. The research vessel was practically defenseless against a severe threat. Minimal shields, no offensive weapons, only rudimentary evasive maneuvering systems. Paulina gritted her teeth, an unarmed ship this far out, pure recklessness. Paulina walked to the window, her footsteps echoing dully on the polished floor. Outside, the skyline of Xanadu stretched out, glittering and full of life. Glass domes reflected the reddish light of the gas giant rising on the horizon. Millions of lives are unsuspecting in their daily routine. Protecting all this was her job. A responsibility that weighed like lead on her shoulders. She returned to the hologram, staring at the pulsating dot that was the anomaly. What could be hiding there? Progress or doom? A technology that could catapult Kasach into a new era, or a weapon that would destroy everything they had fought for? "Admiral Romero, the Imperatrix wishes to speak with you," her assistant reported over the intercom. His voice sounded tense as if he sensed the gravity of the situation. Paulina straightened her shoulders and smoothed out her uniform. It was time to make decisions. She took one last look at the Cuuturn system, memorizing every detail. The fate of the Empire hung in the balance, and she had to be ready to make the hard decisions that no one else wanted to make. Emma Hart stood motionless on the bridge of the EK Asimov. Her eyes fixed on the panoramic window through which the pale light of the Cuuturn system filtered through. The soft hum of the instruments filled the room, creating an almost meditative atmosphere. Emma felt the tension in her shoulders, the anticipation of discoveries tingling in her fingertips. Suddenly, a shrill beeping broke the silence, so unexpected that several crew members flinched. "Commander, we're receiving an unusual signal," reported Lieutenant Zhang. His fingers flew over the controls, a dance of precision and urgency. Sweat glistened on his forehead. Emma hurried to his station, her footsteps echoing on the metal floor. "Show me." Her voice vibrated with suppressed excitement. On the screen, a wavy line danced in a repeating pattern, hypnotic in its complexity. Emma frowned, her eyes narrowed in concentration. It's not a natural phenomenon. The structure is too orderly, too deliberate. "It's coming from the center of the system," Zhang explained, his voice a mixture of awe and confusion. "The frequency? It's like nothing we've ever seen. It's beyond our previous knowledge." Emma felt her heart beat faster, a drumbeat of anticipation in her chest. "Activate the sequence translator. Maybe it can tell us more." The machine whirred to life, a technological marvel of Kasach engineering. Numbers and symbols flickered across the screen, a storm of data and possibilities. Then it sounded, a melody of such beauty that Emma involuntarily held her breath. It was as if the universe was speaking to them in a language beyond words. The bridge fell silent. Everyone listened spellbound to the heavenly sounds that filled the room. The crew stood transfixed, their faces reflecting a mixture of awe and confusion. "By the gods," whispered Emma. Her voice trembled slightly. "This is unbelievable. Beyond our wildest dreams." The melody swelled and became more complex. Harmonies wove themselves into a cosmic symphony, a crescendo of tones that no human ear had ever heard. It sounded as if the universe itself was singing, revealing ancient secrets in a language of pure energy. "Can we locate the source?" Emma asked, her voice hoarse with awe. Her fingers clutched the arm of her chair as if she feared the moment's intensity would sweep her away. Zhang nodded, his eyes fixed on the displays. "It seems to be coming from Cuuturn itself, from the star. But the energy. It's beyond anything we know. Our gauges are tripping like they're about to blow." Emma stared at the star's hologram. An orange dwarf, speckled with sunspots, pulsed to the melody's rhythm. Could it be a civilization more advanced than they had imagined? Or something even more incomprehensible? Send a distress call to Kasach, she ordered, her voice now firm and determined. Highest priority. And prepare a probe. We need to find out more, whatever the cost. While the crew worked frantically, Emma let the melody sink in. She felt something change inside her, as if the sounds were communicating directly with her consciousness, as if the universe had whispered a secret to her that she did not yet fully understand but which touched her soul. Probe ready for launch, Commander, Zhang reported, his voice tense with concentration. Emma took a deep breath, her heart racing. Launch. The probe shot out of the Asimov, a tiny dot of light in space, rapidly approaching the pulsating star. Emma watched its flight on the screen, each second an eternity. What would they discover? What wonders still awaited in the Cuuturn system? Would this discovery change the realm of Kasach forever? The melody swelled and became more powerful. It sounded like a cosmic call, an invitation to something greater, something unimaginable. Emma felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Kasach is responding, the communications officer reported, his voice barely more than a whisper. They're requesting an immediate report. The Imperatrix herself is waiting on the other line. The Imperial Senate of Kasach vibrated with energy. Senators in magnificent robes heatedly debated the future of education in the Empire. Myra Gupta's eyes were sparkling with excitement as she presented her vision of polytechnic teaching methods. Imagine, my colleagues, she shouted, a new generation of explorers and discoverers trained in the arts of science and technology. A murmur went through the hall. Some nodded in agreement, and others frowned skeptically. Suddenly, a shrill alarm cut through the air. The senators flinched, their heads jerked to the giant screens on the wall. Urgent distress call from EK Asimov, announced a mechanical voice. The senators, their concern evident, were ready to act. Imperatrix Sevia Heimber stood up, her face a mask of concentration. Establish the connection. The image flickered and Emma Hart's face appeared, her eyes wide with excitement. Imperatrix, Venerable Senate, she began, her voice trembling with shock and awe, we have discovered something that is beyond our imagination. Before anyone could answer, a melody filled the hall. It began quietly, barely audible, then swelled to a crescendo of such beauty and complexity that it took everyone's breath away. The sounds interwoven, forming harmonies and dissonances that touched the heart and lifted the spirit. It was as if the universe was speaking to them in a language beyond words. Sevia Heimber stood motionless, her eyes closed, her face transfigured in an expression of transcendent enlightenment. A single tear trickled down her cheek, glistening like a crystal in the light of the cosmic symphony. Her hands trembled slightly as if trying to grasp the ethereal sounds. Nadine Heimber, the high priestess of the Helix, fell to her knees, her lips forming silent prayers in an ancient, long-forgotten language. Her eyes glowed with a strange inner light as if she saw visions beyond physical reality. Even the fierce Admiral Romero seemed shaken, her usually complex features soft and vulnerable in the light of the cosmic melody. Her hand rested on the hilt of her ceremonial sword as if seeking support in this world of wonders. A slight tremor ran through her body. As the last notes faded, there was a silence in the hall so deep and pregnant with meaning that it seemed almost palpable. No one dared to speak, the impression of what they had heard was too overwhelming. The air was still vibrating from the aftereffects of the heavenly sounds, charged with an energy that everyone in the room could feel. Finally, Sevia broke the silence, her voice gentle but imbued with an authority that brooked no dissent. Her words echoed through the hall like an echo of the cosmic melody. My friends, she began, each word carefully chosen and carrying deep weight, we stand on the threshold of something greater than we could ever have imagined in our wildest dreams. This melody. It is more than sound. It is a call from the depths of the cosmos that we must heed, whatever the cost. She turned to Myra, whose eyes shone with tears like stars on a clear night. Sevia's gaze was full of compassion and determination. Your proposal, Senator Gupta, Sevia continued, her voice filled with renewed energy, is timely, as if guided by destiny itself. We must prepare our people for the wonders that await us out there, for the mysteries that the universe holds for us. It is our duty, our destiny. A murmur of assent rose, swelling like a wave of cosmic energy until it culminated in a unanimous, thunderous "I" that made the hull tremble. The walls themselves seemed to answer the call. Sevia nodded, a smile playing around her lips, mingling determination and anticipation. Her eyes shone with an inner fire. "So be it resolved," she announced in a firm voice, the words like an oath. "The Polytechnic teaching methods will be introduced. May they be the key to unlocking the universe's secrets and taking our rightful place among the stars." She turned back to the screen where Emma Hart was waiting, the commander's face a mixture of excitement and awe. Sevia now spoke with the authority of a ruler who held the fate of her people in her hands. "Commander Hart." Her words were filled with new weight. "Continue your investigation. Explore every nuance of this cosmic symphony. The Senate awaits your full report, and with it, the future of our empire. The fate of Kasach, and perhaps the entire galaxy, depends on your discoveries." Almar Kazan stroked his neatly trimmed gray hair and cleared his throat. The red recording light flickered on. He turned to the camera with a smile that captivated millions of viewers. "Good evening, citizens of Kazakhstan. This is Almar Kazan with the latest news from the depths of space." His warm and familiar voice filled the studio. Behind him, holographic images of various spaceships flickered. "The EK Susquehanna, our newest jewel of the space fleet, is on its way to the Igorot system. The brave crew of the EK Ptolemy is still exploring this fascinating star kingdom. Commander Andrea Sauer reports astonishing discoveries that go beyond our imagination." Almar leaned forward, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "But that's not all, my friends. The construction of our first colonist ship, the majestic EK Knossos, is nearing its triumphant completion. In just a few weeks, this masterpiece of Kazakh engineering will be launched." He paused dramatically, letting the words sink in. "And now, fellow citizens, we come to a piece of news that will make history. The first brave colonists for Sidus II have already been put into medical hibernation. These pioneers carry with them the hopes and dreams of our entire empire." Almar's voice took on a respectful tone. "Just imagine, as we sit here, these brave men and women hover between worlds, between life and death, ready to open a new home for Kasach. What wonders will they discover on Sidus II? What secrets do the mist-shrouded moors hold? And what challenges will they face when they awaken in a world as strange and dangerous as the ocean's depths?" He leaned back, his gaze directed into the distance as if he could see the vastness of space through the studio walls. "The expansion of our empire is progressing, supported by the courage and determination of our citizens. Every step towards infinity is a triumph of the Kazakh spirit. But we must not forget that every step forward also carries risks. The Church of Genetic Purity urges caution, and we would do well to heed their words. For what if we not only encounter miracles out there but also dangers that threaten our existence?" Almar folded his hands on the table, his fingers intertwined like the fates of Kasach and the distant stars. "In the coming weeks, we will witness historic events. The commissioning of the EK Knossos, a colossal ship that embodies our wildest dreams. The launch of the first colonist group, pioneers risking their lives for an uncertain future. The revelations from the Igorot system may turn our understanding of the universe upside down. Every day brings new wonders and new challenges. Every hour could change our destiny forever." He smiled, warm and confident, but there was a hint of concern in his eyes. "Stay tuned, dear viewers. I, Almar Kazan, will inform you of every development, whether triumphant or terrifying. Together, we will witness the birth of a new era for Kazakhstan, for better or worse. The stars may be cold and indifferent, but we are not." The red lamp went out with a soft buzz. Almar leaned back, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead like distant stars. He knew that his words would electrify the realm like a storm sweeping through the souls of men. Hope and fear, enthusiasm and doubt, he had captured all of this in just a few minutes and planted it in the hearts of his audience. The seed had been sown, now, it remained to be seen what fruit it would bear. The Eurasia shipyard shone in the light of countless floodlights. The massive docks where the EK Knossos had been built for months slowly opened like the petals of a giant metal flower. A collective gasp went through the assembled crowd as the majestic ship, a symbol of our nation's ingenuity and ambition, became fully visible for the first time, filling them with a sense of wonder and pride. Imperatrix Sevia Heimber stood on a raised platform, her magnificent robes glittering in the spotlight. Her eyes sparkled with pride and awe as she looked at the gigantic colonist ship. The EK Knossos was a masterpiece of Kasach engineering, a floating piece of home that would carry thousands of settlers to new worlds. Citizens of Kasach, her powerful and full of emotion voice echoed across the dockyards. Today, we are making history. The EK Knossos is more than just a ship. She is the embodiment of our dreams, of our striving for the stars. She carries the hopes and aspirations of our entire nation in her heart. The citizens of Kasach were filled with mixed emotions as they watched the Knossos prepare for its journey. A murmur of anticipation swept through the crowd, rising to a thunderous crescendo. Many wept with emotion, tears glistening in the spotlights. Others cheered and waved flags with the emblem of the Empire, a sea of golden stars on a blue background. Children sat on their parents' shoulders, their eyes wide with amazement, filled with hope and excitement for the future the Knossos represented. With a dull rumble, the Knossos' engines roared to life, thunder that made the air vibrate. Slowly, almost majestically, the mighty ship broke free from its moorings. Metal struts and cables fell to the ground like discarded shackles. A loud cheer went up as the Knossos glided into space, its gleaming hull bathed in an unearthly red by the light of the red giant Eurasia. The ships of the Pegasus flotilla appeared out of nowhere, elegant corvettes that looked like toys next to the Knossos. Their slender, raptor-like silhouettes cut through space, their engines glowing like blue stars. They formed a formation around the colonist ship, ready to accompany it on the first leg of its journey, an impressive ballet of precision and power. Meanwhile, celebrations broke out in Kasach, an outpouring of collective joy and hope. In Xanadu and other cities, people poured many smiling faces and festive clothing onto the streets. Massive and razor-sharp holographic projections showed the launch of the Knossos. The vast images floated above the heads of the crowd, a window to the stars. Musicians and artists performed on improvised stages, their music and art paying homage to the historic moment. Dancers moved to cosmic rhythms, their bodies forming constellations and spaceships. Sevia Heimber watched the spectacle from her palace. She smiled as she saw her people's joy, but there was also a hint of worry in her eyes. She knew that this step into a new era could also bring unexpected dangers. "May the gods protect them," she murmured as she watched the Knossos grow smaller and smaller until it was finally just one point of light among many. In the streets of Xanadu, the people danced and celebrated deep into the night. Fireworks lit up the sky, their colors echoing the distant stars to which the Knossos was now headed. It seemed as if all worries and fears were forgotten, replaced by the pure joy of embarking on a new, exciting future. But as the celebrations climaxed, Admiral Paulina Romero sat in her office studying the security protocols for the Pegasus flotilla's escort mission. Her expression was serious, her gaze focused. She knew that the real challenges were yet to come. The massive silhouette of the EK Belarus slowly detached itself from the shimmering power generation facility in orbit around Sidus II. The kilometer-long construction ship resembled a metallic leviathan rising from the depths of space. Captain Olga Petrov stood on the bridge, her steel-gray eyes fixed on the holographic representation of the HFY system. The hologram flickered in a symphony of red and orange tones, an image of the alien star and its 6 hostile planets. "Thrusters to maximum thrust," she ordered, her voice as hard as hardened steel. "Set course for the hyperjump point." The ship vibrated slightly as the mighty engines roared to life. A deep rumble ran through the hull like a prehistoric creature awakened from its slumber. Yelena Voronin, the chief engineer, monitored the displays with a furrowed brow. Her fingers danced over the controls, a complex ballet of calculations and adjustments, a testament to the crew's expertise and dedication. "Power flow stable, Captain. We're ready for the jump. Reactors are running at 98% efficiency, better than our last mission." Meanwhile, the senior officers gathered in the crew mess. The room buzzed with activity, a hive of human energy and anticipation, each member eager to contribute to the mission's success. Viktor Petrov, the head of the construction department, spread out virtual blueprints on the table. The blue holograms floated above the polished surface, a three-dimensional labyrinth of lines and structures. 3 raw material extraction plants here, here, and here, he explained as he pointed to various points in the system. His hands moved with the precision of a conductor. The energy extraction plant should be placed near the star to maximize efficiency. Using the new plasma technology, we could increase the output by 15%. Dr. Anastasia Kuznetsova, the scientific director, chimed in. Her eyes shone with enthusiasm, a contrast to her otherwise reserved demeanor. And the research station? We need a location with minimal interference for our sensors. The fourth planet offers optimal conditions for our planned experiments on dark matter. Suddenly, Myra Gupta's hologram flickered above the table. Her round face smiled warmly, but her eyes betrayed tiredness. Good afternoon, my dears. I see you are already hard at work planning. Petrov nodded respectfully. Governor Gupta, we are currently discussing the optimal placement of the facilities. Myra raised a hand. Excellent. The Imperial Senate has approved your plans. The energy extraction facility is the top priority, followed by the resource extraction facilities. The research station. Well, let's say it's a gift to our curious friends. She winked at Dr. Kuznetsova, who could barely hide her enthusiasm. But don't forget, Myra continued, her tone becoming more serious, safety first. We don't know what awaits us in Fly-a-Fly. Be vigilant. Captain Petrov, who had just entered the crew mess, nodded grimly. Understood, Governor. We will proceed with caution. Myra smiled again. I know the EK Belarus is in good hands. May the stars be in your favor. The hologram went out, and there was silence for a moment. Then Petrov clapped his hands. You heard the lady. Let's finalize these plans. We have a system to open up. The officers bent over the blueprints again, their faces a mixture of determination and anticipation. In a few hours they would reach the Fly-a-Fly system, and a new era of expansion would begin. Nadine Heimber stood in the sacred halls of the Helix Cathedral, her eyes wide open in awe. The pale light of the candles was reflected in her short gray hair. A holographic image of human DNA floated in front of her, a complex web of glowing lines and dots that bathed the entire room in an unearthly blue light. The complete mapping of the genome, a milestone their ancestors had only dared hope for in their wildest dreams. Behold, my brothers and sisters, she cried, her voice trembling with emotion and echoing off the high vaults. The divine blueprint of our existence, revealed at last. The key to perfection that our Creator has inscribed in each of our cells. The assembled priests and worshippers erupted in reverent murmurs. Some fell to their knees, their faces marked by tears of overwhelming emotion. Others tremblingly stretched out their hands towards the hologram as if they could touch the essence of life itself. Nadine walked around the hologram, her robes rustling softly on the marble floor. Her footsteps echoed through the silence, each a beat in the symphony of this historic moment. This is not just a scientific triumph but the confirmation of our sacred mission. Preserving the purity of our genome is now more than ever our God-given duty. In these sequences lies the proof of our divine destiny. She addressed the High Council of Genetic Guardians, her eyes sparkling with excitement and a mixture of awe and determination in her voice. Imagine the possibilities that are now opening up to us. Diseases that we can cure before they even develop. Weaknesses that we can eradicate to make our children stronger and purer. We stand on the threshold of a new era of human perfection, an era in which we will truly be molded in the image of our Creator. One of the older counselors raised his hand hesitantly. But Saint General, doesn't this knowledge also harbor dangers? Could it not be misused? Nadine nodded gravely. Your concern honors you, brother. Yes, this knowledge is a double-edged sword. But is it not our sacred duty to guard it and use it wisely? We are the guardians of genetic purity. Who, if not us, should bear this responsibility? She turned back to the hologram, her voice taking on an almost dreamy tone. Imagine a world where every child is born free of hereditary diseases. A world where old age and infirmity are a thing of the past. A world in which humanity realizes its full genetic potential. The congregation nodded in agreement, and some even shouted, Amen. Nadine smiled, pleased with the response. But let's not forget, she continued, her voice now more severe, that this knowledge also places an enormous responsibility on us. We must be vigilant against those who would abuse it. The genetic purity of our people must be protected at all costs. She raised her hands as if to embrace the entire assembly. Let us celebrate this day, my brothers and sisters. But let us also stand in humility before the greatness of this discovery. May it guide us on the path to the perfection our Creator intended for us. Andrea Sauer stood on the bridge of the EK Ptolemy, her eyes fixed on the hologram of the fifth planet of Igorot. The red dwarf cast a ghostly light on the barren surfaces of the celestial bodies. Commander, we've discovered something, Dr. Stern reported, his voice trembling with excitement. An anomaly on the largest moon of Igorot V. Andrea stepped closer, her fingers stroking the holographic display. Show me. The image zoomed in, revealing a strange, pulsating structure on the moon's surface. Energy values flickered across the screen beyond all known parameters. Fascinating, Andrea murmured. Mark the position for later exploration. We need to report this to the Imperatrix. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Senate on Kasach, there was a very different kind of excitement. Senator Voss, head of the Industrial Process Research Department, stood at the podium, his face flushed with excitement. Dear colleagues, I bring you news of unimaginable significance, he announced. Our scientists have achieved a breakthrough in the field of geothermal fracking. A murmur went through the hall. Senators leaned forward, eyes wide with astonishment. This new technology, Voss continued, will revolutionize the way we generate energy. Just imagine, unlimited, clean energy from the depths of our planets. Myra Gupta stood up, her voice cutting through the commotion. Senator Voss, what does this mean for our industrial development? Voss smiled triumphantly. Governor Gupta, it means nothing less than the beginning of a new era. Factories that can produce around the clock. Colonies that thrive in the most inhospitable environments. The possibilities are endless. Nadine Heimer frowned, her voice a low rumble that echoed through the hall. Her fingers clutched the armrests of her chair. And the risks? Have we considered the effects such massive interventions in the planet's crust could have? We are talking about forces that are far beyond our comprehension. Saint General, Voss replied, his voice tinged with a hint of impatience. He straightened his shoulders and looked Nadine straight in the eye. I assure you, all safety aspects have been thoroughly checked. Every eventuality has been considered. This technology is not only safe, it is the key to our progress, to our expansion into the stars. Do you want us to stagnate while other civilizations overtake us? Imperatrix Sevia Heimber stood up, her movement smooth and full of authority. Immediately the hall fell silent, as if someone had flipped a switch. Her eyes glittered in the light of the holographic displays as she spoke, her voice full and clear. This is truly a day of triumph for our empire. Senator Voss, I congratulate you and your team on this groundbreaking discovery. Your dedication and ingenuity are an example to us all. She turned to the entire Senate, her gaze sweeping over every single person present. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the threshold of a new era. An era of unlimited possibilities and unimaginable progress. Let us move forward wisely, with caution and responsibility. This technology will take our empire to unimagined heights, but we must never forget that with great power comes great responsibility. The Eknosis majestically penetrated the fog-shrouded atmosphere of Sidus II. Captain Elena Volkov maneuvered the mighty Ark ship with a precise hand towards the predetermined landing zone. Her eyes flitted over the instrument panel as she monitored the descent. Below them stretched a seemingly endless moorland landscape, a carpet of muted greens and browns, crisscrossed by lazily meandering rivers and mysterious pools that lay like dark mirrors in the landscape. When the massive landing legs of the Ark ship made contact with the marshy ground, the earth trembled as if in a minor earthquake. A swarm of enigmatic, insect-like creatures ascended from the tall, reedy grass like a living, pulsating cloud. Their iridescent wings cast a hypnotic shimmer in the reddish light of the colossal sun orbiting the planet in the distance, adding to the intrigue of the alien world. Elena took a deep breath and activated the onboard speakers. Her voice echoed across the alien landscape, landing successfully completed. Begin backup operation immediately. At her command, heavily armed soldiers in cutting-edge protective suits poured out of the Eknosis's hatches. With meticulous precision, they formed a dense security cordon around the imposing ship, while highly sensitive sensors meticulously scanned the unknown surroundings for potential dangers, ensuring the safety of the mission. The rugged, strange vegetation bent and cracked under their heavy footsteps. From a distance, strange, reptilian creatures with 6 muscular legs and scaly skin watched the new arrivals curiously. Their eyes gleamed in the twilight as they remained motionless. A heavy, musky odor hung in the air, permeated by the pungent aroma of rotting biomass and unknown essential oils. The settlers, a colorful mix of scientists, technicians, and adventurers, gathered in the ship's brightly lit command center. Their faces reflected a fascinating mixture of nervous tension and unbridled anticipation. Captain Volkov stepped in front of them, her uniform immaculate, her posture full of authority. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began in a firm voice, "welcome to our new home. We are at the beginning of a historic moment. Let us give this planet a name that embodies our hopes and dreams and our indomitable pioneering spirit." A young man with wild curls tousled by the flight hesitantly raised his hand. His eyes shone with enthusiasm. "What do you think of Citisim, Captain? It honors our heritage and, at the same time, symbolizes a brave new beginning in this strange world." Murmurs of approval filled the room, growing louder and turning into enthusiastic shouts. Elena nodded approvingly, a rare smile playing around her lips. "A truly excellent choice. You speak from the soul of us all." She raised her voice. "From this memorable day forward, may this planet be known as Citisim, our new home and the beginning of a glorious future." On Kasach, Myra Gupta followed the events via a high-definition hologram transmission. Her heart pounded wildly as she saw the first razor-sharp images of Citisim. The alien moorland landscapes and the majestic silhouette of Eknosis made her hold her breath. Years of meticulous planning, countless all-nighters, and complex, dedicated work had led to this epic moment. A slight pressure on her shoulder made Myra flinch. She whirled around and looked directly into the piercing blue eyes of Imperatrix Sevia Heimber. A rare, almost conspiratorial smile played around the ruler's lips. "Myra," Sevia said with a warmth that even her closest confidants rarely heard. "Your bold vision and tireless efforts have led us to the stars. It is time for you to reap the well-deserved fruits of your labor." With an elegant gesture, Sevia led the stunned Myra to an imposing podium erected at lightning speed in the magnificent throne room. Hundreds of nobles in dazzling robes and high-ranking officials in their best uniforms had gathered, their faces a mixture of curiosity and awe. Floating cameras whirred quietly around the room, broadcasting the historical scene in real time to every corner of the empire, no matter how remote. A slight pressure on her shoulder made Myra flinch. She whirled around and looked directly into the piercing blue eyes of Imperatrix Sevia Heimber. A rare, almost conspiratorial smile played around the ruler's lips. "Myra," Sevia said with a warmth that even her closest confidants rarely heard. "Your bold vision and tireless efforts have led us to the stars. It is time for you to reap the well-deserved fruits of your labor." With an elegant gesture, Sevia led the stunned Myra to an imposing podium erected at lightning speed in the magnificent throne room. Hundreds of nobles in dazzling robes and high-ranking officials in their best uniforms had gathered, their faces a mixture of curiosity and awe. Floating cameras whirred quietly around the room, broadcasting the historical scene in real time to every corner of the empire, no matter how remote. Sevia stepped up to the podium, her presence filling the room. In a firm, clear voice, she announced, "Citizens of Kasach, today we are writing a new, glorious chapter in our history. In recognition of her extraordinary merits and as a sign of our unwavering trust in her abilities, I now appoint Myra Gupta as the first sector governor of the Kasach sector." Thunderous, unending applause filled the hall like a wave rolling over Myra. She stepped forward with trembling knees, overwhelmed by the sheer significance of the moment. The immense responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders, but at the same time, she was filled with unbridled pride in what she had achieved and deep gratitude for the trust placed in her. Captain Andrea Sauer stood on the bridge of the EK Ptolemy, her gaze wandering over the holographic displays surrounding her. Her eyes sparkled with pride and suppressed excitement as she transmitted the final report on exploring the Igorot system to Kasach. The high-resolution projections around her showed detailed topographical maps, atmospheric analyses, and geological profiles of the 5 planets she and her crew had explored with meticulous precision over the past months. "Transmission complete, Captain," reported her communications officer, Lieutenant Zhang, his voice tinged with a palpable sense of relief and anticipation for what's to come. Andrea nodded in satisfaction and brushed an unruly curl from her forehead. "Well done, crew. We've done some pioneering work here and achieved great things." The last data record had barely disappeared into the depths of the subspace radio when the communication displays flashed again. A highly encrypted message from Fleet Command materialized on Andrea's screen, the priority level making her heart beat faster. Her eyebrows raised involuntarily as she read and reread the new orders. "The Apsu system," she murmured, more to herself than to her crew. "We're finally heading into truly uncharted territory." A tingle of anticipation spread through her stomach. She cleared her throat and turned to her eagerly waiting crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, she began in a firm voice, "We have received new marching orders. Our next destination is the Apsu system, a previously unexplored sector at the edge of our known space. Prepare everything for the hyperjump. Chief Engineer Volkov, I want a full system report on my desk in 10 minutes." A wave of excitement went through the bridge, followed by an explosion of frantic activity. The Apsu system had previously been no more than an enigmatic footnote on the star charts, a promising blank spot that had captured the imagination of scientists and explorers alike. Now, they were on the cusp of unraveling this mystery. Meanwhile, in orbit around the Igorot system, Captain Lena Schultz, on board the EK Susquehanna, also received new instructions from Fleet Command. The bridge system's humming stopped momentarily as she opened the encrypted message. "An outpost," she read aloud, her voice a mixture of surprise and anticipation. "Here in the Igorot system." She glanced at her first officer, Commander Ravi Singh, whose dark eyes sparkled with anticipation. "It seems we finally have the opportunity to utilize our construction modules fully. Ravi, prepare the crew. We're going to make history." On Kasach, Almar Kazan was preparing for a special broadcast in KNN's state-of-the-art studios. The news of the exploration fleet's latest successes had electrified him, his pulse racing excitedly. He tightened his tie and took a deep breath while the makeup artist put the finishing touches on his makeup. "We're in 3, 2, 1. The cameraman counted down, his fingers silently signaling the final seconds. Almar beamed at the camera, his eyes full of enthusiasm. "Good evening, citizens of Kasach. Today, we receive exciting news from our empire's frontiers that will change our lives. The EK Ptolemy, our pride and hope, has completed the full mapping of the Igorot system and is now setting out for new, unknown horizons. A leap into the unknown that will broaden our horizons. At the same time, the EK Susquehanna will establish a permanent outpost in the Igorot system, another milestone in the history of our expansion. This outpost will be our gateway to the stars, a beacon of civilization in the ocean of darkness." He paused dramatically, letting the words reverberate in the silence. "On this historic occasion, I have the extraordinary honor of welcoming Her Divine Majesty, Imperatrix Sevia Heimber, for an exclusive interview." The camera panned gently, and Sevia Heimber appeared in the frame, majestic as ever, in her imperial robes that shimmered in the light of the spotlights. Her presence filled the room, her piercing blue eyes looking straight into every viewer's soul. Almar Kazan felt his palms fill with sweat as he sat opposite the Imperatrix. The weight of the moment rested on his shoulders. The camera hummed softly, a silent witness to this historic interview. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice firmer than his pounding heart, "what do these new developments mean for the future of our empire?" Sevia Heimber tilted her head, her piercing blue eyes fixed on Almar. A smile curved her lips, subtle as the hint of dawn. "These discoveries, Almar, are more than just scientific curiosities. They are signposts to our destiny." Her voice echoed through the studio, every word carried with conviction. "The Apsu system and the outpost in the Igorot system are the next steps on our path to the stars." Almar leaned forward, his curiosity ignited. "And our pioneers? What role do they play in this cosmic saga?" Sevia's eyes sparkled. "Our pioneers are the lifeblood of Kasach. Every explorer, every settler carries the spirit of our people into the vastness of space." She raised a hand as if to reach for the stars. "They are our eyes, our hands that shape the unknown." "But doesn't this expansion also harbor dangers?" Almar asked, demanding his journalistic integrity. Sevia nodded, her face serious. "Of course it does. Space is unforgiving, full of secrets and potential threats. But that's where our strength lies." She leaned forward, her intensity palpable. "We are Kasach. We were forged in the harshness of our homeworld. Every challenge makes us stronger, every discovery wiser." Almar felt the hairs stand up on the back of his neck. A shiver of awe and anticipation ran through him. "And the EK Ptolemy? What do you expect from your mission in the Apsu system?" he asked, his voice vibrating excitedly. "The EK Ptolemy," Sevia's voice became softer, almost reverent, her eyes seeming to gaze into distant worlds. "It is our beacon in the cosmic darkness. Captain Sauer and her crew will uncover secrets we have never dared to dream of. They are the spearhead of our voyage of discovery, the embodiment of our irrepressible thirst for exploration." "And the outpost in the Igorot system?" Almar asked, his journalistic curiosity insatiable. Sevia's eyes flashed, a fire of determination blazing in them. It will be our springboard, Almar, a bastion of civilization in the ocean of stars. From there, we will advance deeper into space, open new worlds, and expand our empire. It is the first step on a path that will take us to the furthest reaches of the galaxy. Almar nodded, fascinated by the Imperatrix's bold vision. Her enthusiasm was infectious and electrifying. One last question, Your Majesty, he ventured, his heart pounding with excitement. What would you say to our citizens who may be afraid of these changes? Who is scared of the unknown? Sevia leaned back, her gaze soft but determined. An aura of wisdom and compassion surrounded her. I would tell them, don't be afraid of the unknown. It is the breeding ground of our greatness, the source of our strength. Every step we take into the vastness of the cosmos is a step towards fulfilling our destiny. She paused, her words hovering in space, weighty and meaningful. We are Kasach. We are explorers, pioneers, visionaries. The stars are waiting for us, we will welcome them with open arms. Our story is a story of courage and overcoming. This new challenge is just another chapter in our great epic. Hey, I would be happy if you could give my video a like, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date.